But speaking of execution, I want to talk about some of your staffing choices and your methodology behind that. Most people that I talk to are desperate to find industry players, industry, smart people to bring into their firm. Yeah, you're doing the opposite. You're hiring mostly people from outside the industry. So why did you do that, and how do you think that helps drive your success?
Yeah, well, thanks for noticing. I think so I will say, I got to give a quick shout out to my friend Pete Dorsey, who just joined. So we were able to, we have added some really great people from inside the industry. Our CCO, Mazi Bahadori, is another kind of industry person, more fintech than traditional financial services, but did spend some years at PIMCO. So we have some folks that definitely are from industry. But you're right. The majority of our staff, I mean, our team, which, we just went over 100 people on the team. I think we're close to 110 now. Probably 80 to 90 have never spent any time in financial services. Now, the areas that we hire specifically in financial services, like the folks working on like our trading tools and rebalancing, our compliance programs, broker-dealer operations, those folks, we definitely highly value industry experience, as we should. But when we think about like our brand, our user experience, our way we think about engineering and architecture, that's largely coming outside the industry from places like, we just brought in a great marketing leader from Spotify, which people will hear about, by the time this is played. That's unusual, for like a global leader of a brand like Spotify to come work in fintech, financial services fintech, specifically financial advisor fintech, like that's unusual. But this is part of what makes our brand unique. It's part of what makes our design unique. And a lot of it is that I think the best products in the world, I wish I could say this wasn't the case, but I think the best products in the world are not yet in advisor tech, right? If we look at like, Salesforce, or if we look at, Apple, if we look at consumer brands, I'd rattle off a few like Airbnb. I mean, some of these like really transformational brands, that have built incredible technology, or Stripe, we just mentioned. I mean, again, these are places where I feel like if you can get people from those backgrounds, they're going to think about things without sort of like the pre-existing, hey, this is how we did it at ABC. This is how we did it at XYZ. Now, I think it's good to have some of that for point of reference, but I really love to bring in like incredibly talented product people that just think about the problems and finding innovative solutions versus let's just go find people who did it one way at, again, there's a lot of great companies in our space, but then all you'd end up having is like, it's like mixing black paint, white paint, and gray paint, right? You just get gray. We want to bring in like, people that are totally thinking differently than anyone's ever thought in this space, like tackling problems with no sort of, pre-existing ideas of how the best way to do it really is, and have built really big, meaningful technology products that scale to massive scale, like way bigger than our industry's ever scaled to. The largest tech companies in our space are still pretty small, compared to the largest software companies. So we really want to think like what's possible, and then go find the best people there. And I think fortunately, the brand part is really important. Like bringing in like exceptional brand and design thinkers like early has really helped us attract those people that are willing to leave, you name it, Facebook or, again, Spotify or Salesforce, et cetera. I mean, we've had a lot of really great people that have left fantastic prior companies. But a lot of it's because they believe in what we're doing and the upside here. So this all like, plays into our ethos as well. I think that a lot of people outside of our industry, as a consumer, are frustrated with the consumer experience, trying to find and work with an advisor. So a lot of these people that are coming and joining us, it's funny when we interview, they'll be like, yeah, I have an advisor and this is what the experience was like. And it was terrible. And maybe not necessarily the advisor was terrible, but just like I never know how much money I have. And I don't have a mobile app and I don't have, So it's cool to be able to see that great, builders of companies and products externally, they do have an interest in what we all are doing. Like they want to help financial advisors. And they want to, think of like these new innovative ways to bring their experiences into this space. And it definitely shows. I mean, obviously when people use our product, it doesn't take them much more than a couple of seconds to realize this wasn't built by people from our industry. It was built by people that have in many cases, like a lot more consumer kind of feeling simplicity in the UI and the UX.
Hey, wait a minute. This wasn't built by people in our industry. What gives? Like, they're shocked. What is this? The so we're running out of time. I want to get a couple more questions in. So what can be a $10 billion idea in our industry? Do you see Altruist on a path similar to Robinhood, another $10 billion a year company?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that from day one, I think, again, I'm certainly not a statement of arrogance, but my last company, I think if I'd have kept running with it for a few more years, I think I could have made it $1 billion company. Like, no doubt in my mind, that's where it was going. But and it wasn't about the valuation, by the way, but it was just sort of like the impact it was going to create. I realized would be somewhat limited. I mean, that's why the valuation would have probably capped out like as a $1 billion company. Um, with this company, I wanted to do something really transformational that I could be really proud of. In order to do that, you have to be able to make a massive impact and really serve a lot of people. In our industry, I feel like the best way and the most innovative way to do that was starting at the custody layer. I look at like in the industry as multi-layers, right? You've got the custody layer, which if you're an RIA, for most RIAs, 99%, that's the core layer. Everything else is built on top of. And let's find those things, the most expensive, cumbersome, high friction areas that are related to that sort of the custody side of the RA space. Let's integrate those really seamlessly. When you think about the size of that addressable market, it's trillions of dollars, right? So we're talking, I think it's moving in on $5 or $6 trillion of RA custody assets. Just on the wealth manager side alone, it's like $3.5 trillion of assets. People have to remember that Robinhood's only maybe a $60 to $70 billion custodian. They've gamified bad behavior, so they're generating revenue on client assets probably close to 2%, which is why they get $1 billion a year in revenue. But if you're doing good work and serving your customers, your ROCA, as the industry I guess would call it, is probably going to be more like 30 basis points. So the question then becomes, can we be 7 times bigger than Robinhood? And the answer is absolutely. 7 times bigger than Robinhood is 400 billion or so in RA custody assets. I think we get there within 5 years. So is this that big of an idea? Absolutely. And I think it shows in the interest, from outside investors, outside of our industry. And it's really cool because hopefully this is bringing some new attention into our space that we hadn't been getting. And when people see that there's great ideas where you can build really meaningful companies that are transformational, that really do change kind of the way people think about how financial advice and individuals are connected to advisors, that you don't have to play small. Like there is a lot of opportunity to do things really well here.
You got to think big.
Absolutely.
No, we don't need any small thinkers around here. So last question, do you have anything you can share on the product roadmap that's going to be coming this year that would be exciting for either your current clients or prospective clients?
Sure. Yeah. So I think there's quite a few things. I mean, probably like the less sexy thing that'll be coming soon will be a really robust Teams product that'll allow like larger advisors to really seamlessly run, so they could have 50 employees and still run their entire business here. I think that'll be really exciting. In Q3, we'll be kicking off integrations. So this will be where I think you'll see all of your favorite products. We're going to find some really elegant ways to integrate those. And we're trying to think through integrations differently than others have in the past. So it's not like this bizarre, weird kind of like partially working single sign-on or something like that, but really deep integrations. Then in terms of like, kind of like the more fun, sexy stuff, I think what you'll find is a lot of banking-based products and crypto will happen, I think, this year. And so I'm hopeful. I mean, it's hard to say because I never know how far our competitors are along, but I like to think that we'll be the first RA custodian to seamlessly offer digital assets into our experience. Pretty high conviction that'll come true, unless someone's a lot far ahead than I think they are. But excited about that. And then I think the banking part is really going to be important because there's lots of like, again, sort of like almost like banking as a service that people can bolt on to other technologies. And there's people kind of trying to play around in that space, but there's really no better solution than having it integrated directly into your custodial interface, to where your clients, if they're using your mobile app, like they can legitimately manage their bill pay and their banking relationship directly in the same application that you're providing for all of their wealth management needs. And if you can do it with far better rates and far better user experience than what they could get from their local banks, it will create a lot of opportunity there as well. So in any event, I think there'll be some other stuff too. We'll keep kind of private, but I think you'll see a lot of big news this year. I have some stuff I wish I could talk more publicly about right now, but we just can't quite yet. But I think the second quarter of this year, anyone who doesn't know Altruist will definitely know who we are. And I think our users that have been patient and giving us great feedback to shape the product are going to be really excited to see all those ideas and feedback sort of materialize into releases that will help them better serve their clients.
All right. That's what we want to hear. Exciting stuff coming to Altruist in 2021. It's going to be a big year.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me on and letting us share this story, Craig. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you making some time. You're the busy guy building a $10 billion business. Thanks for coming on and sharing with us. I'm looking forward to talking to you again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Craig.